David, you used to work in corporate and you decided to pack up your life and travel the world and go on a little adventure. Or maybe it wasn't quite little. But tell me about the spark for that and where it all started when you decided to embark on a new journey and leave corporate.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the spark started when I was super young as a child. Like, I always had a spark inside of me that I wanted to find out who I was and where we came from, the big questions. There was a lot of things in religion that didn't make sense. But I guess when I was in the corporate world, that just got to a point where I couldn't do it any longer. Everything, I had the promotion, I had the great job, I had the great income, but there was something inside of me. I still hadn't answered that question in the way that I needed it answered for myself. So, yeah, I had to pull the pin and go on that journey of finding the answers to those questions.
And what made you embark on this journey of traveling to random places, and what made you think that leaving Australia or leaving the job was going to help you find the answers?
Yeah, I didn't necessarily plan to go to any random places. I guess the first thing I actually did it before I left corporate, was start reading. And I hadn't read much in my life. But I read The Secret, and that really resonated with me, kind of that law of attraction concept. And then I read another book called Think and Grow Rich. And that was one of those books that I just consumed it in a week. I couldn't stop reading it. And then I wanted to put those actions into practice and see if they worked. And straight away they started working. And so then I guess I started seeking out experts in different fields that I was interested in. An example of that would have been The Passion Test, caught up with that author, Janet Attwood. Another example would be going to the Tony Robbins conference, Date with Destiny, which we spoke about last night. And then another example of that was I got sent a YouTube of a gentleman called Nassim Haramein, who's a theoretical physicist and a mystic. And then all of a sudden, he probably had at the time, this is in 2011, maybe 100 YouTubes online. And I watched all of them probably in about 3 or 4 days, with only sleeping like 2 hours a night. And I just didn't go to work during that time because that's when I was still working in corporate. So I knew there was something there, like there was something just pulling me into that information. And it was really the information diving into the maths and physics of what we're doing here and the universe and what biology is and what the cosmos is, and really like the concept of a unified field theory, which is the holy grail of physics. And unbeknownst to me, then I wanted to sit with this man and firstly, like, feel if what he was saying was true and then spend as much time as I could with him. So he was actually doing an emissary conference in Mexico in 2 months' time. So all of the applications had closed, but I reached out to them and said, is there any chance I can get on this? And they said, no, you've got to kind of have done these several other programs to even get to an emissary stage, different delegate programs and things like that. However, I was the only person applying from Australia, and they wanted people from all different countries around the world. And I kind of said, I really want to come. I've watched all the YouTubes. I really resonate with the different messages, and kind of wrote down some of the things that resonate with me. Anyway, they let me go. They let me go to the course. And that was another one of those moments. It was 2 weeks and it was like 16-hour days. And I was just sitting there in awe, listening to this information. And so I guess that sent me on a journey of anything related to anything that was like felt right in my heart. I was just like, I just got to follow this and see where it leads me. And so I wasn't planning a whole lot. I was just kind of following that instinctive, just kind of the flow, I guess. But also keeping in mind like those Think and Grow Rich principles of, writing things down, having faith, putting attention on it, and just trusting that if attention was on whatever I wanted to learn more about, that would present in my life. And, it's still one of the greatest things that I've ever done. And I'm so proud of taking the courage to do it because I understand now there is that flow and magic and miracles really do happen if you're open to it and if you create the space for it to happen.
One of the things you said at the start was that there was a couple of unknowns or problems you saw with religion, which was one of the sparks to make you want to seek to understand. What was making you think that? And we spoke about it briefly the last couple of days of maybe the misinterpretation of a certain thing and maybe the way people are using religion in their life as a form of like cope, reach out, solve all my problems sort of thing. Was that the thing that you thought was off, or what was the reason you thought something was off being grown up, obviously Catholic or Christian? What part of religion did you feel was a little bit off?
Yeah, when I was younger, it seemed unfair and controlling. So like the unfair example I would give is, if you are not of this faith, you don't go to heaven. And I used to always think, well, there's so many people on the planet that never got exposed to that faith. So like, the Indigenous Australians, this means they didn't get to meet Jesus or know what Christianity is, or Muhammad and know what, the Muslim religion is. So it's like, just because they didn't get access to that information, surely that doesn't mean that they go to hell, right? So that just felt really judgmental to me. And then a lot of the controlling aspects and a lot of the ideas of like, the savior is outside of us and, someone's going to come and save us, as opposed to taking responsibility that, we attract everything in our life. We manifest everything in our life. And we really need to take responsibility for that and the understanding that, God is everywhere and in everything. And it's really where we put our attention. We want to choose, fear and separation, or do we want to choose connection and oneness? And that's really the split that I see in human consciousness that I wanted to put to the test, right? It's like, some very smart and intelligent people believe in separation and some very smart and intelligent people believe in oneness and connection. So which one's true? That's what I wanted to explore and experience.
So a key part of your story is obviously you mentioning the events that you've been to, but a lot of the stuff that's really fascinating is all the adventure you did outside of those with no plan, not really any idea what you were doing, just going with what felt right.
Yeah.
What was the first step after all of those events, all of those things? What sparked an adventure, an experience, and where did you go?
Yeah, they're all different. I mean, the one I just told you about going to Mexico was, to go and spend time with a physicist. Some of the others were just pure adventures. Like another example was a gentleman that I knew had just sold his house, and he had a mortgage on the house, but left over was like $130,000, and this was in 2013. And he said to me and a friend of mine and a couple of other random people that he'd only just met, will you come over to Israel with us? So there was 8 of us, including him and his wife and 2 kids. And I said yes straight away. I was like, I love Israel. I've been there before. And I think he invited me and my friend Marty because, we had been through those lands before and we'd been to Egypt before and we'd told him some stories. And I think he thought, that'd be pretty cool to get access to a lot of that. So we said yes. It was like a 3-week trip was the plan. And we ended up being over there for 6 months. We went from kind of the northern end of Israel, traveled down to Jerusalem, explored the old city, and then down to the Dead Sea, which was fascinating. From there, we went over to Barcelona and went through like Montserrat which is just west of Barcelona, where a lot of the Knights Templar and Rosicrucians went. From there, we went up into southern France, which is where a place called Carcassonne, where the Cathars went. And then from there, we went back to Jerusalem and down to the Dead Sea, where Marty and I ended up sleeping for 88 nights until our visa ran out. So, that whole journey was really interesting because we found out that was actually a journey that like the Magdalene energy did around the time of Joshua or Jesus.
What's Magdala energy?
Magdalene. So Mary Magdalene. The idea is that once Jesus or Joshua was actually crucified, she left with some of the Essenes that were living in around the Dead Sea. She left Israel, the Middle East, and went over to southern France and was a big part of the start of the Cathars, which passed on that sacred wisdom and sacred knowledge, the truth of who we are, which kind of formatted a lot of the secret societies, the Rosicrucians, the Knights Templar, and they kind of held that sacred wisdom throughout the last 2,000 years so that it could still be documented correctly, so that it could still be shared correctly. And that's a lot of what a lot of conscious people now are bringing that information back to the forefront so that we have, elevated consciousness on the planet and we understand the truth of who we are to be on that connected and oneness side of consciousness instead of continuing like this fear-based separation, which is really the cause of all of our challenges on the planet.
So let's unpack this a little bit more. The knowledge and the wisdom you said has been around for a couple of thousand years. Who did you say was carrying it again? The
knowledge and wisdom has been around forever.
Yeah.
Different prophets have come through, and I guess being able to see the truth clearly, and they share that truth. And then, the Christian example is Joshua 2,000 years ago. And
so Joshua, for reference, is Jesus.
Correct, yes.
Right. So was his real name Joshua?
Yeah, the Hebrew word is Joshua, yes.
Okay. And so this is fascinating for me because I'm really interested to unpack and understand this. So the Jesus or Joshua was one of those people that wasn't enlightened and had the wisdom and had the courage to speak the wisdom or share the wisdom. Is this where the origin of it all kind of starts? I'm very naive to religion and how it works, but I'd love to hear your thoughts because you've spent a lot of time in Jerusalem and in all of the places where all of it originated. Mm-hmm. And so I'd love to hear more about how this wisdom, how this knowledge has come out and into the form of like Bibles and different things for people around the world to be reading still to this day.
Yeah, so there was a group of people called the Essenes. They actually wrote the Dead Sea Scrolls, which were only found about 70 years ago in the 1950s.
What are the Dead Sea Scrolls?
So it's again, it's sacred text. I would say it's equivalent to the Bible or the Quran. All of that text, in my view, is pointing to the same truth, the same light. And so the Essenes were the ones living at the Dead Sea at a place called En-Gedi and Qumran. Qumran's where they found the Dead Sea Scrolls. And it's actually where Cleopatra was visiting the Essenes in about 35 BC as well, and learning a lot about minerals and ormus, and learning a lot about this sacred information from the Essenes as well. So the Essenes were really paving the way for Joshua to come through. And when he was young, he spent a lot of time with the Essenes and with John the Baptist to, nurture his awareness and his wisdom. So he came through very clear, and then he was held very I guess, sacred and like nurtured with the elders of those indigenous people who were, they had devoted their life to the truth. And so Jesus then, or Joshua, was able to then go and travel through other sacred parts of the world, like Asia and India and the Himalayas, and kind of get more experience of different cultures and different wisdoms, and then return back to Israel, or what they called the Holy Land. And he was just so clear in his heart that he was sharing that beautiful message. And at the time, that was just way too confronting to the density and the control and the power that the kings and the people that were in power had. It was too threatening for them. So, anybody that kind of shared that information that they would consider scary was, harmed. And that's the whole story of his crucifixion, if you will.
Mm. Yeah. And how does it eventuate into a world where there is a story and a narrative that is fear and division, not oneness? Where does it progress from this profound wisdom and added some layers that provoke fear and division instead of everyone being one?
Yeah, I mean, it's, even though Joshua was projecting such a clear, beautiful message, it's still, the person receiving it has to be able to interpret it the right way. And it's so subtle, depending on what state you're in yourself. So there was very few people that could actually interpret what he was saying in the way he meant for it to be received. And one of those was Mary Magdalene. So she was actually the main person that then went on and held that knowledge and, took it over to southern France, escaped getting hurt herself, and started that, secret society. And they were all taken out as well by the church. So that whole area of Carcassonne was destroyed. The people were, or the area wasn't destroyed, it's still there, but the people were all murdered. Luckily enough, by that stage, there'd been enough of that good news spread to other areas, and it was able to be maintained up until now.
Yeah, it's fascinating. It's kind of the more people it gets passed to, the more the story will get bent. It's the same with just everything in life.
Yeah.
So the way I'm piecing it all together is there's the root, which was Jesus's message, and then Mary takes it and then tells someone else, and then their interpretation of Mary's interpretation then gets changed, and then the next person's interpretations of that person's interpretations of Mary's interpretations of Jesus's message just slowly gets bent like Chinese whispers. And then the Bible's born, and all of the other scripts are born. Would I be kind of correct in saying, I'm just trying to piece it all together, but I think what's interesting and what we've spoken about, obviously we've spent the last few days together talking about how it all ends up in the same spot. Like if you dig it deep enough, I think you were talking about atoms, and you're tying it back into physics, right? It all ends up in the same spot, which isn't division. It's all oneness. I think there's something profound in the way that you share this and the way that you are bringing this to light, because for someone that didn't grow up with religion, you hear one thing and I struggled to, I could read stuff in the Bible and go, yeah, I really resonate with that. I really like that. I really don't like that. But then I'm going, well, I also am struggling about this Jesus thing, because I'm like, can we prove he was there? Who is this guy that we're talking about? And so there's this confusion there. But I like hearing origin stories, and it makes me feel like I understand it a whole lot more. For you, growing up a Christian and then going and embarking on this journey, what changed in your view from being a Christian to however you believe now, what was through the discoveries and the things that you've learned, like what changed and what was your view that kind of changed?
Yeah, I mean, I guess going to the actual locations kind of makes you feel like Joshua was a real person, and a lot of those things really did happen. I mean, you still don't know for sure, but when you go to Jesus' tomb or Joshua's tomb in the old city and everything looks really old, or you go to King Solomon's temple or the Dome of the Rock, or you go down to the Dead Sea and you visit where the Dead Sea Scrolls were found in Qumran. There's real places and real things there. So I guess there's that legitimacy. But the real thing that changed for me was seeing and experiencing that it's about love and connection. The message of Joshua or any of the prophets or actually any of the gurus, it's about love and connection. And the human mind is so clever at not wanting to believe that. It's like the thing that we want the most is the truth, like love and connection and eternal life. However, it's also like we're terrified of that light. We're terrified of that level of love. Our mind, something in our mind wants to stay in the drama of fear and separation. However, I feel like we're coming out of that now with the support of the sun, with the cycle that we're in, the cosmos, with the cycle that we're in. There's more light coming to the planet. There's clearer codes. And the young people coming through, a lot of them it's obvious to them that there is these levels of connection, that there is these levels of love, there is these levels of organization to make this reality what it is. It's not just random. It's not meant to be chaotic and dramatic, that all of that can actually be left aside and we can have a beautiful experience here and a very loving experience here and understand that we're never alone, we're never separate, we're part of this one beautiful song, which is what universe means. And getting back to what you said about maths and physics, that was the beautiful thing about me spending time with Nassim Haramein and also a biophysicist that works with Nassim called William Brown, was able to break down like when you go into an atom or into a quark or into an electron or down as small as like a Planck fluctuation, they're all emanating out of this field that's inexhaustible and unmeasurable and doesn't have like a boundary or a size or a shape. So what that's saying is like the entire material world, whether it's biology or botanics or flora or fauna or like anything material, is all emanating out of that field, showing that we're all literally connected to the source of where we're coming from.
Yeah. It just makes me think, because I like being able to, when people can dumb it down and just be like, just look at it. Just
Yeah.
like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Or
yeah.
showing like the Laird Hamilton stuff. And, there's something in that, because it does make me think when you have an atheist that just seems to think that there's nothing there, like it does make me think, it just makes you go, when someone just explains to me, like I look at the water falling from that thing over there and the wind blowing the tree over there and this light's turned on. I just look at all this. I just go like, it can't be me. Like it can't, like it, I don't know. And so it is quite a fascinating view. I get like it, I wrote that poem the other day going, maybe it's God's plan. I don't know what that God is, but it's something. And it's kind of where I'm at. It's like, there's something there. And I feel like people like you help me bring that to life a little bit more, which is really cool.
So just on that, so here's the thing, like looking at something super cool, because it is amazing. Like you can look at a plant super cool. You can go and surf a wave, super cool. You can watch the sun, super cool. But the beauty of the physics and the maths and diving into that is you see what it's made out of. And you see that it's all made from the same thing. But more importantly, when you get small enough, there's no smallest thing. It becomes a field. And the field's the same for everything that you dive into. Again, whether it's a light, whether it's you, whether it's ocean, whether it's the TV, like you go deep enough into the material that they're made from and you get to the same field. So not only can you look at it and see the beauty of everything that we get to experience with our senses, but when you go to the source of it all, it's all the same thing.
So how does that change and how does that make you show up differently? Like understanding that information, like how do you apply that to your life? Like how does that make you show up differently?
Yeah, for me, it creates a peace because I know that field is eternal. It's boundless. There's no age to it. There's no time to it. There's no description of it. And that's our source. That's our essence. That's the truth of who we are. Meaning it doesn't actually matter what happens to you or me or our brothers and sisters, our friends and family from that space. It doesn't actually matter. We exist forever. And so it kind of falls back into the idea of like a simulation or a video game. It's like if you're a player in a video game, do you mind if you get killed? No, because you just get another player and you keep going. Or you switch video games and keep going, right? So that's what I believe we're in, is we're in this game of life where we are actually infinite and eternal. And when we come in here, we get the amnesia, we buy into separation because of our senses. And so we treat it very delicately and very sensitively, which is beautiful, right? Because if we knew when we left here, we just start again, if you had a bad day, you just jump off a cliff and reset like a video game. But I think it's designed perfectly. But that's what it does for me to answer your question. It invokes like a deeper level of peace and love where even if you're having a bad moment, bad day, a bad week, it doesn't matter. It's all perfect. There's so much love and intelligence behind the field, behind our source, that enjoy the journey. Like everything's okay. Everything's a miracle. Everything's magical. So just remember that, have that awareness, even in your hardest, darkest places, if there's a tiny bit of awareness that we actually have everything we could ever want innately by design and just live from that space.
Yeah. What about your time going to the Dead Sea? Was there a spark that made you want to go to the Dead Sea? Was it when the guy gave you the information about Ormus, or what sparked your interest to go to the Dead Sea, let alone stay there for 3 months?
Yeah, it's really interesting because as you said, the first time I went to Egypt, met a gentleman called Godda who owned the Sphinx guest house, and that building was the closest building to the pyramids. That building and a couple of the ones next to it, Guardian Guest House, which was where I was staying at the time. And there's another building just back from that called the Kemet Mystery School. But I received a formula from Godda about 3 different ways to produce this substance called mufkat, which I've more recently found out. The Hebrew word for that is manna, and the Western word for that is ormus. But mufkat as a word is, thousands and thousands of years old. Manna is as well. Ormus is only developed in the 80s by a gentleman called David Hudson. But they all mean the same thing. They're alluding to this superconductive material that we can consume to raise our consciousness, which allows us to commune with the gods, if you will. And I think what that's really saying is we get to see the truth of who we are and remove that separation so that we can access more information from the field. So it's really raising our frequency. And so, yeah, I mean, that information was amazing. Part of the 3 ways to make mufkat or ormus was using dead sea water. So there was seawater, dead sea water, or pure gold. And when I got back to Australia, I started making ormus from those 3 different forms. But I never actually thought of going to the Dead Sea for whatever reason. I mean, we've got incredible seawater here. So I was using seawater and buying gold, pure gold, bullion, and turning that into a white powder using a slow boil method. However, my experience with the Dead Sea was I actually just ended up there randomly. So that kind of journey that we went on that I spoke about earlier to Israel, we ended up in Europe. We flew back to Israel. And at that point, we had no money. It was 0 degrees. And Marty and I decided to walk down to the Dead Sea because it was going to be 10 degrees warmer. He was an ex-pilot, so he understood that because it was the lowest place on the planet, so much lower than Jerusalem, that it'd be warmer temperature for us. And we also wanted to kind of, I guess, test the manifestation theories that we'd learnt and be like, let's put it out there and see what happens. So we walked down to the Dead Sea. We ended up spending, the 88 nights there. And it actually wasn't until I was probably half the way through that and making ormus and swimming in the sea every day and swimming in the hot springs and putting the black mud all over us, watching the sunrise over Jordan, reading sacred text, that it kind of hit me. I was like, oh my gosh, like I'm at the most sacred place on the planet for playing with mufkat, manna, and ormus, and I'm just immersed in the mineral kingdom and the whole history of, King David and so many of the prophets, so many of the pharaohs went to this particular space to meet with the Essenes or to spend time there to gather, insights and wisdom. So I almost felt like I must have been guided there as a steward of the manna to learn more about it in hindsight, but I definitely didn't plan it.
Yeah. So we need to elaborate a bit more on this Dead Sea and what to expect, like what this is. Because we might pop up a photo right now if someone's watching this of the cabin that you stayed in. But basically, from my understanding, you got to a airport, you're at a certain place, then you walked for like a day or something to get to the Dead Sea. And then you didn't have food, you didn't have water, you didn't have anything, and you were there for 3 months. Like, how and like what happened when you got there?
Yeah, so we'd been in Jerusalem probably like 4 to 6 weeks earlier. And when we flew into Tel Aviv, we had no money. There was a place in Jerusalem where we had gone and had several meals. And in the backyard of this place was like a little clay hut. And we didn't get into Tel Aviv until late at night. It was about midnight. So I said to everyone, we can't afford accommodation. Do you remember that clay hut in the backyard of that? It was like a community kind of space where people went and did painting and performances, and there was food supplied. And we'd gone in there for a few meals and kind of got to meet a few people. And I said, I don't think they'll mind if we stay in that little clay hut in the backyard. And at this stage, there were still 8 of us, including 2 little kids. And the hut was probably big enough for, like 2 people. So we just laid top to tail that night and ended up staying there for 2 nights. Then the family, because it was so cold, they decided to leave and go to Cyprus. So there was 4 of us left. And because it was so cold, people were starting to feel unwell. And so that's when I said, we've got to do something. And Marty and I decided that we would walk down to the Dead Sea. So, yeah, it was like a 2-day walk through the Judean desert. And before we left, I think we probably had the equivalent of like $20. Went to some markets in Jerusalem and just got like some grains and some basic food. And Marty found a tent from somewhere. There's like some shops in Jerusalem that are like, I guess, the equivalent of what we know as op shops, where you can go and get things for, $1 or $2 that have been donated. So he came back with some of those kind of supplies. I had some food. The other 2 people with us were quite a bit younger than us. They're only like 18 and 25 or something like that. And we went on the journey, walked down there. We ended up at an area that had been abandoned because of sinkholes. And the reason we kind of went to that particular spot was there was a lot of trees had been planted there because there used to be a campground before the sinkholes. And so they'd moved about 3 years earlier back up further into the mountain where it was safer. But it meant that there was all this firewood. So we camped there, had big fires to kind of stay warm. We had these bearskin rugs to keep us warm as well. And just kind of waited to see what would happen.
And what happened?
So, it was after about 3 or 4 days, we found the cabin that you mentioned, which was right down on the sea. And one night we were sitting around a fire and we'd actually run out of food by this point. And these 2 guys appeared with a hot meal. You're sitting around a fire, it's all pretty dark around you, so you can't see much. And came and sat with us and gave us some food and said they were from a community, which was like, 4 or 5 kilometers away. And had a chat with us. They were beautiful people. I can still see their faces. And they said, why don't you come up to the community and we've got food there and you can have a shower or whatever you need, because they were a bit worried for us because it was pretty cold. And like I said, that particular area was considered very dangerous because of the sinkholes. So we took their food, but we didn't take the offer to go up with them because we actually enjoyed what we were doing and where we were. And pretty soon after that, I don't know if it was the next day or a couple of days, we moved into the cabin. So the other 2 people with us actually did go up to the community, up to the kibbutz. However, Marty and I stayed in the cabin. It was a little 2-story cabin, and Marty stayed downstairs. I stayed upstairs. And it was one of the greatest experiences of my life because the cabin was all timber. So as the waves on the Dead Sea break, even though it's not tidal, the wind forms little waves, and the timber cabin had all these acoustic effects. So while you were sleeping, you're kind of hearing all of the water structuring and doing its thing.
See, it's a wild story. And I think the thing that's wild is we're sitting here in a nice massive house, and you've done very well in this society, but it's weird because you left your corporate and what it seems like you just went exploring, living off the land and like figuring it out. Like you were like a homeless backpacker that was just like going from city to city or town to town, village to village, meeting all these people, finding these like random scripts or recipes or teachings from all these different people, and you've like ended up to like piece it all together and like be the person you are today. It's an interesting like journey because we're not talking like back in the day. We're talking 2015 or whenever this was.
Correct. Yes.
Yeah. And so I guess like the thing that I'm fascinated to unpack is you obviously didn't know where this leaving corporate and where your life was going to end up, but surely you could never have planned of doing what you ended up doing after leaving your corporate job in medical devices. Like surely you didn't think it was going to be what it was, right?
No, definitely not. I mean, in reflection, I was given some good advice from mentors, and I really resonated with a guy called Victor Schulberger, who was a scientist last century, and um, his like interpretation of life was that nature is our teacher. He was known as the water wizard, but like nature is our teacher, and so that's why I really wanted to go out into nature and just learn and observe things because I felt like it. There's so much order and intelligence on this planet that the humans have kind of disconnected from. However, everything's sitting there waiting for us to observe and learn and find that connection and that love and peace. And I just knew that if I did that, I would then, it actually wouldn't matter what happened next. So it wouldn't matter if I stayed at the Dead Sea and was a homeless person, or it wouldn't matter if I'd gone on to build a company, or it wouldn't matter if I'd gone on to like do anything, become an artist or like become a musician, or it just wouldn't matter because once you've kind of found that space inside of you, then it's not like you've lost that kind of concept of wanting to be this or be that. And, you know, to be honest, this year I feel like I've lost a little bit of that connection to nature just because I haven't been spending as much time in nature. You know, I haven't been watching as many sunrises or sunsets and, you know, getting in the ocean because I've had a great year in other ways. You know, getting married, having a baby, bringing 9 new products into Manna. So it's been a busy year with family and with projects. However, because of that connection that I made in nature and the miracles that I saw over and over and over, it's always there. Like it can never there's a component of that can just never ever leave me. This life anyway.
The powerful part about that is you're okay with like so what the nature's teaching you is that it's okay to not feel like you don't need to have all of the things that people feel like they need in order to be happy, in order to be full. It's this quest of like, I'm just going to do what feels right and I'm okay with that in the moment. Maybe that's the freeing nature that you were able to unlock, was the ability to just be you and do what you feel like and not feel like you need to do anything else. And so what you're saying is if you felt like being by the Dead Sea, or if you felt like building a company or building a family or whatever it is, it was any outcome was going to be fine. That's maybe like something that you access through the journey that you've been on.
Totally, yeah. The rest is like an opportunity to have that human experience, right? Like building a company for me has been super fun, and it's again been a test of those theories and, you know, the creative space of designing a new product from scratch and, you know, finding the absolute best quality materials that you can and then designing the packaging and then figuring out how you're going to market that. That's creation. And so that's just a fun way to express our humanness. And, you know, same with creating a family. It's the love that you feel for your child and your baby when you're watching them develop and having to see them, you know, fall over and hurt themselves and that those feelings that you have while we're in a body is so amazing. However, yeah, I guess just understanding that none of the material world is that important for our happiness or peace. It's just an opportunity to play within that. It's kind of like back to the video game concept. It's like, you know, if you're playing a video game, you don't need it. It's not that important, but it's super fun. And I don't actually play video games. But, you know, my video game might be going and playing a game of golf or, you know,
driving a nice car.
Or, you know, going for a swim down the beach. But it's that same thing, right? It's like, I guess, it's nice to have nice things because again, the depth behind them, it's beautiful. Like if you go and buy, a really nice pair of shoes or like a really nice bag, like the passion behind what has produced that and the fabrics and the design and just the attention to detail, like that's beautiful experience, a beautiful expression of humans' passion and humans' genius. But I could just as easily like walk out of here right now with the clothes on my body and nothing else and be just as excited for life. Like I would be so excited to do that. I wouldn't do that because of my responsibilities at the moment. But that to me would be just as fun as anything else I could come up with.
I feel the key here is accessing trust. So going on a journey to develop a level of trust in your life that makes you feel okay with what you have. And if you want to strive towards something, great, go strive towards something. If you don't, great, don't. It's like allowing the flow and the rhythm of life to be in place and having trust in that rhythm. Maybe that's what nature does, and things like breath work and things like all of the stuff that makes us check in. It makes us have more trust, because I think the moments when I lose that trust are moments when I'm comparing, I'm redlining and sprinting and not even looking at like the things around me and taking a deep breath, and the moments where I am, trying to like overextend or be someone else, or all of those times are the times where I lose the trust, I lose the peace, I lose the fulfillment in my life. And so it's this irony of like we sprint so hard to try and achieve this thing, but maybe the actual way to achieve it is to be able to slow down and feel okay with slowing down. And maybe nature does unlock that as well. I feel like there's something powerful in aligning what we're doing with nature and not trying to go against that all the time.
100%, yeah. And we were watching a podcast of yours a couple of nights ago with Robin, and he said that silence is the new superpower. And that really resonates with me, because when I hear what is silence is slowing things down. And, once we slow things down, for me, the simple things become so profound again. So there's so many simple little things that we just start taking for granted once we get into the doing mode. Whether it's getting a glass of water, whether it's jumping under a shower, whether it's taking a footstep, whether it's taking a breath. Like there's simple things that we're doing multiple times a day and we're just taking them for granted. When you slow it down and this is what the Essenes were renowned for, like they used to have one meal a day and they would like make a fresh clay pot for that meal every day and prepare all of them. Like they would spend the whole day in prayer mode, preparing everything they did, because it was simplifying everything. And there was so much love and so much understanding of the intelligence behind those simple things. So it's like similar to a Vipassana. You sit in the same spot for 10 days, basically. Don't do anything except sit and observe. So like that's a great way of accelerating that slowdown. And, by day 8 and 9, you're going for a walk around the center that you're in, and like everything feels totally different. It's like you move your finger and you're just like, oh, wow. Never realized to move my fingers so cool. So it sounds a bit abstract, but when those simple things become so much of a miracle, because you're understanding like what it takes for them to happen, that's just a really cool space to operate from, because, nothing else can compete with that. Like nothing can compare with that. And once you've had those experiences, nothing can take that away from you. Sure, you go back out into the world, you go back out into doing, and you forget. However, like if you slow down again, it's still there. So within that silence is that slow down and the answers to whatever we want to hear, or the next steps of whatever we want to do. So it's kind of like a contrarian view. We always think we've got to work harder, we've got to push harder, we've got to do more. And I think that's great. However, if we're doing it from the space of silence, if we could, that other saying we heard, it's like, if you want to do more, spend double the amount of time in silence. It's so true. It's like when we're in silence, we're going to get so much power and potency that when we actually go out and do things, it's going to be so much more powerful and so much more impactful.
Mm. What about if there is someone, like I struggle with this myself, where I feel guilty for doing the slow things. So like I'll be like, no, I can't read. I've got all this stuff on my to-do list I need to do. It's like, no, I can't go on that walk because I need to do this before this and then this and then this. Struggling to give myself permission to do the thing. That is nothing. For you would have been in the state where you were working and you were doing the corporate thing and you were working really hard on that front. I mean, you've got businesses now and that's what you're doing now, but you would have had this period where you did transition, where you left the busy life and you slowed right down. What allowed you to have that permission to do that? And what was the thing that made you feel like staying at the Dead Sea for 88 days and doing nothing else but just being there and exploring feel okay without feeling guilty that you need to get back into the world, that you need to get back and on the grind?
Yeah, I think it was probably for me, again, different mentors teaching like about being present and not, overthinking things. And, a great example of that actually was The Power of Now. I remember being in a spot for a couple of months where I had the time to really read like 1 or 2 pages a day and then sit for a few hours. And like that book was probably the most impactful book I've ever read for just making me realize like we are the now moment itself. And within that is everything we ever need. It's not, again, about anything material or anything in the outside world. And so I guess once you hear that information intellectually, it's then giving yourself permission to put it into practice and have the experience of it. And once you experience it, and again, you experience the miracles that happen when you give yourself that permission over and over and over again. And that's what I did for several years, traveling through multiple locations on the planet. And, there was so many nights that I went to bed and just kind of laughing or smiling, thinking like, I just can't believe what happened today and the miracles that presented. And I knew if I'd planned any of that, it wouldn't have happened that way. It was just through literally being so present that I wasn't thinking about the past or the future, and I was just being.
Yeah, there's something in that. For me, I resonate with this. I believe we were talking about it today or yesterday around when you think about all of the best moments in your life, when you think about all of the things that you look back on and laugh and smile at, you did not plan those things. You left it up for magic. You left space for magic to come into your life. All of the things that we look back on when we talk about the things with our friends, when we talk about the moments that we reflect on, they're not the ones that were filmed. They weren't the ones that we scheduled in. They were the ones that just happened. So if the best moments in our life are the ones that were not planned, why are we filling our calendar with so much noise? Like, why are we doing it? And that hits me too, where I just go, probably the partner that you have or the person that you've fallen in love with or the adventure that you went on or the thing that you found or the discovery that came into your life, they were never planned. It was always when you were least expecting it, when you weren't looking for it. And so creating the time in our life for more magic is so important, because if they're the most valuable things, we want to create more of them. It's so like the less structure, the more magic. we still need to have structure, I think, at times, potentially. Or do you not think so?
No, I think we do. I think it's both.
Yeah.
Definitely. And I've learned that the hard way. I went through no structure and seen friends with no structure, and that can be just as challenging.
Yeah.
Even more so, especially in a world that relies on structure. And I notice it now with Ocean and other friends' children. They love structure. They love habits. They love things happening on certain times. I think it gives them like a safety and a comfort, which is important as a human. Ultimately, we want to feel safe and comfortable through understanding the truth of who we are, but like that's a journey to go on. So it's important to have structure. And I think everything's a balance. I don't think, going too far in one direction is necessarily for everyone, or, I don't think being too structured is super healthy either, because it's probably not, there's probably not too much magic in there.
Yeah.
Room for magic.
Yeah. You even talk about how I want to have the good structure in the morning routine and the things like this that can help unlock myself more, I guess, in a sense, where I'm like doing the things where I've done something for me, I've done something for the business, and then I have time where I don't feel guilty because I've showed up for me, and now I can show up for my family. I can do all the rest of it, which is great. What sparked the creation of Manna and the brand that you're so heavily aligned with, and it's like it's so aligned with you. I look at all of it and I look at all the products, and, the one we've spoken about in brief, the Ormus, which is a key part of the main SKU that you have. What sparked the idea that you had to create a brand and create a product? And where was this pivot in your life where you put your focus towards that?
Yeah, I wasn't planning on creating a product or a brand. I guess through the journey that I went on, the one we've touched on through Egypt and the Dead Sea, or Israel, the Middle East, and then through the Himalayas, and also through North America, where I went into a lot of underground labs and met a lot of wild alchemists that were doing all kinds of interesting things with ormus and gold. And then I started studying, the physics again and biology, and then spending time with, advanced beings that were explaining the potential of our biology and longevity and anti-aging and even reverse aging, and understanding how the cells had the potential to work, and then the power of edible gold, the power of ormus being like minerals in a high spin state or a superconductive state, and understanding and then the shilajit. So the shilajit also is these incredible minerals. However, it also has this substance in it called fulvic acid, which is like nature's miracle molecule, or it's like it's also like a nanotechnology, meaning fulvic acid is the perfect nutrient carrier from the bloodstream or the interstitial fluid into the mitochondria. And our cells have hundreds, if not thousands, of mitochondria inside them. And it's really the mitochondria that's controlling the cellular activity, not the nucleus of the cell. And the fulvic acid can transport the nutrients through all of not just the cell membrane, but the multiple other membranes between the cell membrane and the mitochondria into the mitochondria, where most nutrients never get to mitochondria. And the mitochondria, when it has access to all of those building blocks of life, all of those nutrients, it sends out photons of light, letting the cell know, well, it's controlling our ATP, so energy production. It's controlling our metabolism. It's controlling our hormone and genetic signaling, and it's controlling our intercellular communication. So it's controlling our entire biology, if you will, in a fractal kind of form, because it's so tiny. And it's also emitting photons of light out to the microtubules, which are these little toruses, which have the potential to be quantum coherent, meaning they can interact with other parts of reality, bringing us online, if you will, activating things like the light body.
Right. So unpack intercellular communication for me. What does that mean?
It just means, so let's say a mitochondria is not happy. It's not receiving the nutrients that it requires, or it's got too many toxins. It's going to send out a very weak photon of light or maybe not even send out anything. And so that cell is actually going to shut down. It's going to stop functioning correctly. It's going to hold on to toxins, and it's not going to be firing. It's going to lose its charge, which means it's going to start acting as an isolated system. The reverse is if it's receiving all of its nutrients, if it's full of charge and it's sending out biophotonic light, that's all spectrums of light, and saying, we're super happy. It's creating heaps of energy. It's got a great metabolism. Then the other cells around it recognize that and are happy to communicate with that cell. If the other cells are in the same format or in the same coherence, then those cells can start combining and they can start connecting, like an electrical term, in phase, so that charge can actually start to accumulate. So we've been in this phase, our biology's been in this phase for the last couple of thousand years, where our cells have been acting in a certain way. However, they've got so much more potential, especially when they start, that intercellular communication starts coming online with the correct charge, the correct light signals, the correct nutrients. That's where we have a version of genetic liberation, and we can actually transform into a whole new form of human species.
What does that species look like?
Yeah, so it's activation of the light body. And
what's the light body?
So the light body is a lighter, more connected version of what we understand now with our organs and our blood and our cells. We'll start emitting more light. We'll be in a much higher frequency. We will see that there's no separation. We will see the connection between all things. An example could be we would be able to see colours when we're talking, and those colours may reflect the harmony or dissonance between our conversation. So if I was telling you something that was not true, you might be able to see a colour, and you can just see that, like, what I'm saying to you is inaccurate. Or it could be telepathic communication. So we can both see, there could be a screen here, what I'm portraying to you, and I can't portray something that's not true because I can only recall what is actually true.
Which we're both seeing.
There's nowhere to hide.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wait, so how do we access this, and what leads to this? I understand that we need to be more light beings and project more light. What unlocks the more light?
Yes, it's a combination of things. It's more light. So, sun gazing and getting those light codes. It's a collective consciousness elevating into a higher frequency. And then it's getting these forms of nutrients like, gold nanoparticles that hold all spectrums of light and can get into the mitochondria to send these light signals. And instead of the cells acting in isolation again, they actually start acting as a network. And, humanity ultimately will also act as a network in a larger microcosm. And then the planets also do as well. So it's just this harmonious song starts to come online. Instead of playing these isolated keys, we start playing like a harmonic
harmony.
Harmony, exactly.
Yeah. Okay. It's all piecing together. Let's unpack these products a little bit. So you've been mentioning edible gold, and you've got a product called Gold. We're actually drinking it right now. You got a product called Gold. There's real gold in the product. I'm still confused on that. Enlighten me on how we can eat gold and the benefits that it has.
Yeah, so gold is a metal. It's the only metal that's not toxic. However, you still don't want to go and eat a chunk of gold because it's not going to be digestible. However, when you break gold down, there's two things you can do. You can put gold through an alchemical process and make it edible, and we're doing that. However, the gold that's in our product, Manna Gold, we're actually taking gold, pure 24 karat gold, and putting it into nanoparticles at very specific sizes. We're using between 14 nanometers and 28 nanometers. And the reason for that size is it's no longer considered metallic. It's no longer gold in color. It's actually, depending on the size of the nanometer, it changes color, but it's anywhere from red to purple. Red's the lowest frequency color, purple's the highest. You can get gold nanoparticles in red, you can get them in blue, you can get them in purple, you can get them in orange, and they have different shapes. You can get stars, you can get circles, you can get different geometric shapes. And the beauty of having it in this size and it being bioavailable and the charge or the shape is it can actually pass through the blood-brain barrier and get into the amygdala and get into the medulla oblongata, which regulates a lot of our bodily functions, like blood pressure, heart rate. And once it gets into the cerebral spinal fluid, then it can also get into the intercellular network. So what I'm saying there is it can get into all the fluids of the body, and those nanoparticles can hold different spectrums of light and different charges. So it's actually increasing the light quotient within our body. So again, it's getting us closer to activating the light body. It's getting us a higher frequency where, the connection and the love is obvious, as opposed to the separation and fear. They just dissolve. They're not even like part of the perception any longer. So yeah, I mean, that's why we've reintroduced the gold. And, this is not new technology. It's been around for thousands of years. The Egyptians used it, the Essenes used it. And so at particular times of the cycle on the planet, these substances reintroduce themselves. And I believe, and we believe at Manna, that this is that time where we're going through an evolution as a species. The consciousness is rising, and gold as a nutrient, as a high frequency nutrient, is a big component of that, because it's doing all the things we just discussed, activating that light body and increasing that light quotient so that our biology actually starts. Our biology is the most intelligent technology in the universe, and it has the potential to upgrade. So that's the other thing, like all science is subjective. So like a professor might spend 50 years figuring out something about science and win a Nobel Prize and puts the stake in the ground. This is how this part of the cell works. And it's absolutely true for that period of time. However, it's changing. And that's what a lot of science doesn't accept, is that everything's changing. The outside world is a reflection of our consciousness in our inside world. It's a mirror. So as we evolve, as our consciousness changes, as we are different and acting different as humans, the outside world represents that. And so our science changes, our biology changes, and our biology has the potential to adapt into anything.
I just wonder how digestible this message is, for say we like create a character of someone that, maybe just has their job. They're listening to this on their hot girl walk or their run or their drive to work, and they're trying to implement more into their life to create more enlightenment. Maybe they do want to feel more empowered. They want to have less fear. They want to be able to have more courage. Like, I wonder what's actionable for them to be able to go, okay, like I want to embark on this journey to understand more about myself, to understand more about the world, more about connection as a whole. I wonder what's something that could be that first step for them. That is an actionable, digestible thing to take away from something like this. Because I'm fascinated, and even what's been awesome is when we did our first interview, which was nearly 2 years, 18 months ago, however long it was, I was way less understanding. Like you were saying certain stuff and it wasn't even like this. And I was like, what's going on here? And so it's cool to see like the more people I interview, the more I can kind of start to piece things together. But for someone listening to this that maybe doesn't know anything that you're talking about, it's like very, very like out of the blue here. What's some actionable steps that you feel like they can take to embark on like understanding this a little bit more?
Yeah, I mean, I would say only do something if it's resonating. If it's not, like, it's not like everyone has to step into this, everyone has to do it. I think everyone finds the right time or the right lifetime to explore whatever they're meant to. You know, they come here with their own destiny and passions, and I've kind of learnt that over the years is like not all of us this lifetime or right now have to, you know, dive into some of these concepts. So if it's resonating with you though, the best part of this is so much of it's for free. So you can get up a little bit earlier. You can get out into nature, and that can be climbing a mountain to watch the sunrise. It can be going to the beach to watch the sunrise and getting your feet on the ground. You know, obviously if you're somewhere where it's winter and it's snowing, you're not going to be barefoot, but you know, you can create other beautiful things to see. You can watch the sunrise like through snowflakes or whatever it is. If you can get into water, super powerful. If you can drink structured spring water, that's going to be really, you know, great for your body because it will allow a lot of the things that, you know, Manna or other nutrients are doing anyway. Like structured water is so powerful for hydration and so powerful for all of the charge in our body. And that's not expensive to access. But yeah, getting out into nature, slowing things down, meditating, watching a sunrise, drinking good water, getting minerals if you can. If you can get access to shilajit, if you can get access to ormus, I would highly recommend those substances because they definitely contribute. Reading sacred texts, like doesn't have to be the Bible, it doesn't have to be the Quran, just something that resonates with you. Power of Now, or a book by you know, Robin, who we listened to last night. Or the night before, what is it? The Monk That Sold His Ferrari.
Yeah,
I mean, what a beautiful book, right? Or the 5 a.m. Club.
yep.
You know, he's also alluding to that fact of just get up a little bit earlier,
Where it's quiet.
tap into the silence, where it's quiet, do some journaling, do some inward thinking.
Yeah. What's lighting me up right now, just having this conversation, what I'm thinking about is like, I had this realization of like, where are we rushing to? Like I had this thought of like, yes, I have these big goals. Yes, I want to achieve all of these things, but why? It's like, I still want to have all these goals. I still want to strive towards things. But if it's going to cost me peace, if it's going to cost me like extreme stress, worry, fear, doubt, like, why am I paying that cost? Like, surely there's a way that I can live with more of those things, with more calm, with more peace, with more enlightenment, whilst achieving all the things in this materialistic world that we want. And the thing that I'm getting excited about is like, if we can't sit in silence for a bit, if we can't go on a walk with no shoes on, if we can't like drink some water and just take a little breath, like I think there's something wrong with our priorities. I'm looking at it within right now. I'm going like, if we can't just do these simple things, are you kidding me? We've got 24 hours in a day and you can't spend 20 minutes doing something just for yourself, something in calm. I feel like an intention for me going into the new year is reminding myself of that. It's almost like I need to have a post-it note sit everywhere, like, chill out for a second, dude. Like, come on. Like the magic is actually, what was that quote? It was the answers you're looking for is in the silence you're avoiding. It's like the only magic comes from when you have got that quiet and that peace of calm and silence in your life. So you're doing yourself the greatest disservice by not having any of that silence, by filling your days with things to do and just adding all of this noise. I like this idea. And then, if you can have the supplements and all of all of the other things that you can add on top of that, awesome. Like, I highly encourage it. But the very first step is like, just create a bit of space. Like, have a second where you can take a big breath and just like have some calm. I think that's quite powerful.
Yeah, I agree. And it takes courage. I mean, we're so conditioned at the moment in particular on the planet to just keep doing and keep working. And it's so competitive. If you've got an e-commerce brand or if you've got a podcast business, it's just so competitive. So it's like, got to outdo each other. You got to work harder. And there's a truth to that. Like, you got to figure out what you want. You got to hyper focus. You got to put attention on that. And, the more attention you put on that, the more the universe will give you the next steps and the answers. So I think that's really important. And, the people that I know that have created the best things in the world are the most intense people that hyper focus and just like are perfectionists. And they're incredibly gifted at what they do from like they're the hardest workers on the planet. Like, you look at Elon Musk, right? He works like 18, 20 hours a day and has been known to like just sleep on the floor under his desk at SpaceX because he wants everyone to see like he's not going home. And as soon as he wakes up, he's like the head engineer for a rocket that's going to land back on the Earth, So yeah, there's extremes and then you got people that renounce everything and walk out into the nature or the desert or go to the Himalayas and you never see them again. So there's extremes in both cases, and I don't think there's a right or wrong.
Yeah.
And like, you're 23, it's almost like my advice to you would be go as hard as you can then with the doing, because at some point you're more than likely going to get a knock on the door to like go into the silence anyway. And I think that's what a midlife crisis is. People around their 40s get an invitation to go within. Most people, it's just too scary. So they just keep doing what they know best and what they feel comfortable with and miss that window. But you look at Muhammad as an example. He had a family. He was a family man. And it wasn't until he was 40 that he started getting downloads. He started sharing the information that he was getting. And, people started recognizing and said, hey, we've got to listen more to what this guy's saying. And then, the rest is history. So there's no rush.
Yeah.
It's like, I know through my 20s, I did a lot of traveling, actually was in the military for the first part of it. And I wasn't really exploring too much of this, too much of these concepts. And I actually wouldn't change that. Like, I think in your 20s, you've got everything on your side biologically. You've got so much energy. Probably the only thing I would change in hindsight was, I would have liked to put some more attention on things that you are, like achieving things that are helping people and making a difference in people's lives and being this beautiful ball of positive energy. I think that's magnificent. But yeah, as far as like, pulling back on the doing to have more peace and silence, if it's calling you, then that's a sign.
If you're getting the knock on the door,
yeah,
then listen.
Yeah, and if you're getting the knock on the door at 23, that excites me because it's like, wow, what are you going to go on and create?
Yeah. 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 So kind of push the boundaries, figure out what you're capable of. And if you get a knock on the door, listen, answer the call. I like that. It's like,
and if you don't answer, it'll keep knocking. It'll
Yeah.
keep knocking, man. And sometimes the knocks just get a bit louder, or you get like some more warning signs, or the pain becomes more intense to the point where I just can't keep doing this.
Yeah.
I've actually got to stop. And I've heard that story from a lot of friends as well that have been on similar journeys to me. They just started like crying. They were just so unhappy doing what they were doing. And what they were doing was not bad.
Yeah.
Like one of my friends was a Qantas captain. Great job. And he said he was flying planes crying. It's like, this isn't it.
Yeah. And so the calling can be mental, the calling can be physical. Probably a lot of the time it shows up physically as well. Like it's letting you know.
Yeah.
It's like these guys, this body thing's pretty powerful. Like it kind of shows up. Like you might have a sore shoulder or short traps and neck, and it's like, mate, like you're carrying a lot.
Exactly.
And it's letting you know.
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
then you don't do any stretching, but you just slow down for a second, and then you go on a run, and your traps aren't sore anymore. It's like the body's pretty powerful.
Totally. Yeah.
I'm feeling that. I'm feeling that, and I think that's something that I'm trying to just lean into whatever it is. Like I just feel like there's like something in me where the calling feels like the more I slow down, the more impact I'm going to make. And it's quite a weird feeling because you think I need to sprint more to make more impact. And the number one thing that's calling me is like, I actually think the moment I make the most profound global impact is when I'm actually going to slow down. Not slow down in the sense of like my output or anything, but like actually what I'm spending my time doing. Like the more I can look inward. And that's that profound realization I had was like, my job as a podcaster is to share my thoughts. Surely I should be spending most of my time thinking and feeling and like not filling it with noise. Because if I'm sharing what's inside, I need to check in there more, come up with more answers and like see what I'm actually thinking. And so I just went like, when I look at most of the profound things that I've come up with, they've been from silence. And like people are listening to this probably because of some of the profound things that I've said and what my guests have said. So maybe I should do more of that. And maybe I'll be able to make more impact, which is the goal. And that's the thing that lights me up.
Yeah. I mean, the fact that you have the awareness that you have and you're asking the questions that you're asking and you're interviewing the people that you're interviewing, like some of the people you've interviewed in your last 12 months, in your, is it 48 flights that you've been on this year? And, you know, we've watched a few of those podcasts just in the last 48 hours, is profound. Like you're getting access to the greatest information on the planet. You're asking the questions, you're exploring who am I and what's God, who's God. Like I've never been so excited to see what somebody is going to do with their life because you're doing this at 23. I feel like, and you've developed like a level of awareness and maturity that I've never seen before in a young man. So I'm like, I believe you're going to create the greatest show on earth and a lot more. So I'm just super inspired as a friend and a brother. And I just can't wait to see like where it's headed for you because it's incredible what you're doing. And it's like there's some fire inside of you that's only going to get turned up. It's not going to get turned down. And so it's beautiful that you're recognizing to have that silence, whether it's, 10 minutes in the morning or 4 hours in the morning, it'll be whatever it is for you. But yeah, it's super exciting, brother, to see what 2026 and beyond is going to bring for yourself.
You said this year's been a big year for you. You've got married. You've got a beautiful daughter, Ocean, which has been so cool to spend some time with. She's 10 months old.
Correct.
And you've launched 9 products without Manna, through Manna, the brand. And you look at the products as well and the effort and the detail and the quality of all of it is like something I've never seen before. You've had a big year. How is your mind or outlook or what's kind of changed in you since becoming a father, getting married and and going on a path that maybe you didn't plan a few years ago?
Yeah, definitely a lot of love and a lot of beauty. So, my connection with Susie um, is just like unknowing. And the beautiful thing with what I feel with her is everything's just a yes. It's like I trust her so deeply. I trust in the space that she operates from and the clarity and the purity that is her essence. So that is amazing. And when we decided to have a child, that was just a beautiful moment in my life. I'm 49 years old. So Ocean was born when I was 48. But just the process of that first 10 months is something that you can't explain to anybody. Anyone that's a parent knows. It's the hardest and the most beautiful thing you can ever do. And it's the most human thing you can ever do. And probably, the greatest thing you can ever do as a human. You can kind of find the truth of who you are and go on that spiritual journey we've discussed. But while we're here, incarnate as a human to start a family and go through that journey is, I can't think of anything better. So that's been my priority, and also the responsibility to Manna and the team and all of our customers and the vision that I hold, making sure that each one of those products was the absolute best that we could provide, whether it was the ingredients that's in them or the packaging or, the reason for doing them and how they all link together to complete the vision. It was a beautiful process to go through, and it feels like incredibly, like complete to actually roll out like the full suite of products with that vision that I had, almost 15 years ago now, completed, of providing, the best nutrients I can find, and then the best embalming oils and the highest frequency products available on the planet.
So the family aspect, it's interesting. You were mentioning that it wasn't part of your plan, and you didn't know if you wanted children, and then what happened was you guys got together, and there was just this pulling you towards building a family. What was the decision for you that made you realize that, hey, I actually do want to bring a kid into this earth, into this world, when maybe previously you didn't have that desire?
Yeah, it was really, firstly, my love for Susie. We decided when we got together that we didn't want to have children. Both of us were pretty clear on that, and we had our reasons why, which we'd discussed. And then several months later, Susie came to me. She's an incredible communicator, super clear. And she said to me, my whole body wants to have a baby with you. And she said that to me several times. And I was like, okay, this is different to what we've discussed. Give me some time to think about this. And I didn't know how much time it was going to take. My initial thoughts were, I want to spend the rest of my life with this lady. I'm super clear on this. And I was kind of projecting 10 years into the future what it would be like if I stayed firm on not wanting to have a child. And I thought, that's a pretty selfish view on one hand. And, would we both regret it? Because by that time, Susie's, expiry date physically would be done. And then I realized that I couldn't make the decision based on her. I had to make the decision based on what was right for me. And I probably took like another 4 to 6 weeks, did a lot of meditating, a lot of time in nature, got still, and asked myself, what did I want from the rest of this life? Like, what do I want to do? 50 next year. Is there other things that I wanted to do, like as a single person, or what was it that was left for me? And it just became super clear that I've got this opportunity to have a child with this person that I love. And I didn't kind of go back and answer Sue straight away because I wanted to let it marinate. I wanted to make sure it was the right decision for me, and it just became clearer and clearer and clearer. And then once I told Susie, I said, yeah, I want to have a child with you as well. It was only a week later that we conceived. So it was an amazing experience.
It's crazy the week later part.
Yeah.
It's like it was like, yeah, okay, all the ducks are lined up. Like people spend years trying to have kids. Maybe they just need to take some Manna. maybe they need to take some Manna and that'll help. Probably would. Probably because your body was filled with shilajit and ormus and gold. It was just ready.
Yeah, well, Manna is incredible for fertility, as you know. We've had that feedback from so many people. And yeah, I mean, Susie had actually been on contraception for 8 years as well. So the fact that that was able to like unwind so quickly, it just felt like it was meant to be for us at the time. And ever since that's happened, it's like, I'm so glad that I said yes, because it's something inside you changes when you have a child, and there's like a deeper purpose. There's a deeper understanding of why you're here. All of those things. So yeah, I just feel super blessed and super grateful as an older father that I've now got this opportunity to, be a dad of this gorgeous little girl and go on that journey.
Why do you think there is a deeper purpose and a deeper meaning? Like, what's the thing that makes things change when you have a kid?
Yeah, I think the responsibility, the love that you feel that you can't explain, the like attachment to ocean really surprises me, because I've really, spent a lot of time on detaching from things. But there's an attachment that I feel, there's a responsibility that I feel, there's a love that I feel, and there's a connection that I feel to that little girl that just makes me feel like so full. And it makes me feel like I want to be here forever so that I can spend as much time with her as possible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I feel like deep down as men, we really need that. Like the feeling like we're useful and that we're needed, like people are reliant on us, and like we actually want that. I feel like there's something in that where we light up when we need to provide for people, and we need to be there, and that support. And maybe that having a daughter specifically as well is that next level on top of like, oh my God, there's my wife, which is my girl I need to look after. There's my little precious girl that I need to look after as well. It would have to be something that adds so much more fulfillment into your life.
100%. Yeah. And I'm super excited for you to experience that at the right time too, because you've spent some precious moments with Ocean over the last few days, and she loves you so much, and I can just see how great a father you're going to be. But yeah, there's all of that, man. Like it's such an incredible journey, and I feel like I'm blessed in a way being an older father, because there's a lot of challenging components to it where I feel like I'm able to kind of see the beauty even in those. And Susie's amazing. We can she can be sleep deprived and have had a challenging night or, challenging day with Ocean. And when we go to bed, we just say to each other, like, how lucky are we? How beautiful is she, and how much fun are we going to have being the parents of this little girl. So, I feel like we're in a mature space where we can really appreciate the journey as well.
Thank you, dude. I appreciate you being so hospitable, having me in your house, and it's just been a pleasure. It's so cool. It's so inspiring, and congrats on everything that you're doing. I just want to be able to help and be here wherever I can. It's so cool to see what you guys are doing, and I appreciate you coming back on the show.
Yeah, likewise, brother. Thanks for everything you're doing. So proud of you, and so proud of you taking the courage to take the steps to go to the US and grow what you're doing and create the greatest show on earth. And thanks for coming into the house and hanging out with Suze and Ocean. And yeah, it's been such a joy. And like I said to you this morning, you coming here has been like medicine for me, because, you know, I can get so intense with work and I've been so focused this year, but you brought like this beautiful positive energy, and we've done heaps of laughing, and I've watched a lot of the good news you've been sharing. So yeah, really, really appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, awesome. I'm going to leave all of Manna or Manna, however you want to say it, in the description. There's some awesome products. I've been taking the Manna since we first started working together, like 2 years ago now. I come up with the Manna Gold product. It's phenomenal. We've just been drinking it today. And all of the face oils, the face moisturizers, it's really awesome stuff. And one other final thing, it is coming into the new year. If you are watching this, you've set all your goals, all your things you're trying to achieve. Don't wait for the new year and just to like change your habits. I think it's like if you feel that calling, as we've been speaking about, if you feel like there's something that you really want to act on, like do it and like listen and answer the call. Because it's crazy how quickly your life can change when you do that. It's crazy how much beauty comes into your life when you start acting on what like your soul is calling you out to do. And I think whether it's the calling to embark on a journey in the jungle or in Jerusalem or Egypt or wherever it is, or whether it's myself, you know, picking up one of these microphones and pressing play on a camera and speaking into it with no idea what I was talking about. Whatever it is, I think that New Year's always that great excuse to actually answer the calling and take the leap. And so I encourage you guys to do that. Thank you so much. We're going to sign out, and I will see you guys very, very soon. Thanks so much, David. Appreciate you.
Likewise, brother.
Thank you.